To appease the people on the TikToks, let's just talk about Ronald Reagan for a minute.
I mean, what do we want to say about Ronald Reagan?
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Phails at philosophy.
I mean, the people there's obviously an appetite for Ronald Reagan-based content.
I get that.
And they think that he's the root of all of America's problems.
He fundamentally changed the federal system.
Yeah. So he is.
And I think we were hitting, look, coming out of the 1970s, we had a lot of problems with a set of social structures that were set up to do good that were disintegrating.
Talking about the New Deal.
Right. I mean, if we go back to the New Deal.
Great Society.
Or Great Society, like all that kind of, that notion that, hey, there's problems in the world and we can work together.
Yeah.
In state and local and federal government to try to solve this through programs and policy, right? And to some extent, and that was hitting some real railroads in the 70s, right? You had major public union strikes where people were facing like their police and firefighters saying, we're going on strike and your houses are going to burn down, right? You know, like you had the OPEC oil crisis where people were like facing the reality of the energy dependence framework we had developed, right? And I do think we were at a time when there were difficult but probably far more effective solutions that we could have developed. And I do think when we look around the world at this was not unique to the United States. It's the world system was shaking up in a post-World War II way. Like England was going through the same thing,
right?
Like Europe. And different countries chose different ways to try to address that. Reagan provided an easy narrative to people that it's all about big government, bureaucrats that you can't trust.
Yeah.
Causing the problems.
Regulation is the problem.
Regulation is the problem. Like, which is sort of nonsense. Like, hey, like the problem is that we make some common agreements about how we're going to organize ourselves around each other.
Yeah.
Like there may be problems with the regulations. And I think that's a lot of the problem with people face when they go to like there are bad regulations and there are good regulations. Right. And bad regulations can be worse than no regulations. Right. So like, that's a reality, but the solution to bad regulations isn't destroy regulations.
Yeah, it's
any more than like, if you're living in, you have a relationship with someone and things aren't working, do you abandon that thing? Like coming back to the friendship,
the devotional,
right? Do you abandon that friendship because things aren't working out, or do you work it out?
Yeah.
And instead of working it out, he said, well, abandon your friendship with the government.
Well, I think that's what been what people do.
And restructured the way we think about government. And I think this is like the original sin of where we are now.
Reagan, he had us thinking government was bad and they're all crooks and they're taking our money and that kind of sentiment.
Right. He said it's the people versus the government, not a government that serves the people.
Right.
And if it's not serving the people, that we need to bring that back into service to the people. Right. It is just bad. It's just the thing you're fighting.
It's bad, so we need to make it as small as possible.
And the problem is that there were a number of vicious elements, crazy people who really just wanted to turn the whole world into their vision of a theocracy.
This is the Heritage.
Yeah.
The Heritage Foundation.
Focus on the family, like, the real organization that sat behind him in Southern California and then led to his political success.
Yeah.
He emboldened them to say, our vision of the world needs to be everyone's vision of the world, right? And that is the heart of of the evil there. Is
that evangelical?
A segment, but then that he allowed that segment of evangelical Christianity to capture the narrative. I mean, like I study evangelical Christians.
Yeah.
They're one of the most diverse groups spiritually that you'll find in the United States, partly because they're non-denominational, right? you'll find, and kind of our common narrative about what evangelical Christianity is that's developed around this sort of fundamentalist framework is a small segment of that community. Like most evangelical Christians they're focused on this salvation faith narrative, typically, and an idea of witnessing to others and bringing the good news to the rest of the world, right?
Okay.
That's there. But for a huge number of them, that's about making the world better in a way that is truly loving, truly engaged, and truly about building a world together.
Yeah.
And tolerates that not everyone is on that same boat with them.
Well, how would that match
often-
to what Reagan did? It seemed like he divides.
So he divides up the world by saying, this is who we need to be, this strident evangelicalism, this evangelicalism that is about making sure everyone gets in the stream with us, right? That is about establishing a Christian nation. And at the same time, he makes this alliance with wealthy people and deregulate. I mean, like my first industry, banking. I mean, this is why I think he's the root of it. Is we had an extremely well-regulated financial system in terms of basic banking in the 1980s.
Yeah.
Right. And it had really, really guardrails that segmented off investment banking from the banking you do when you go, and
Checking account, saving
right.
account. That's
because, there's this thing, like as a bank, you are in this huge financial advantage over everybody else because you're just holding on to everyone's money.
And you're making up money.
Right. And you're making up money. And, up to that point, the idea was like, you need to be bound so you don't go pollute the marketplace with your finances, because
Right.
that'll financialize the marketplace and unhinge it from production.
Right.
That's where we are now. Like 80% of capital is in global financial markets that have nothing to do with actual production.
Yeah.
Right? So we don't have an economic system. We have a financial system, because an economic system is about the production of goods and services and distribution of goods and services.
Yeah, we got millions of dollars wrapped up in
Right.
NFTs.
Right. And they're just like,
This is just like
it's all vaporware. And that's the threat we have right now, is that we have invested so much of our framework in what is really still, I'm looking at it, it's like, this is a 50-year bubble of bloat. He deregulated the banking industry.
He deregulated the banking
to make that happen.
Yeah.
He deregulated so much that just basically unhinged, because regulation helped tie capital to production better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then didn't he do the mental health industry where he kicked all the people out of, he like shut down a bunch of state hospitals and
Right,
then
he
just dropped
helped
people off.
and that was, and again, like that's sort of a misguided, there was a problem with institutionalization, right?
Right.
People were being institutionalized who probably shouldn't have been,
Probably.
right?
Right.
And the state was being heavy-handed with that, and it was very expensive, and all those things were real. But it's this sort of like, if your house needs some work, you don't tear down your house.
Burn down the house. Yeah.
Right?
How can we make this better?
Right. And he said, we can burn down the house and then we can build these palaces. And what's kind of like what we've been doing since the 1980s. But the fact is, the houses are still burning and the palaces are getting greater and greater concentration into an extremely wealthy oligarchic class.
And it seems like,
that wants to cut us off from any kind of real democracy.
but when I looked from Reagan until today, it seemed like the Republican Party and the Democratic Party were both working together in that.
I mean, I don't think it's that conspiratorial.
I don't know about conspiratorial, but it seemed like they're
That's
both,
what I mean. Like, he restructured the federal system and he restructured electoral politics, and an entire class of political advisors emerged that basically said, yeah, you got to raise money with the people who have money. You got to run these big campaigns. You got to attack the people.
Right.
Like, the entire framework seems to have shifted at that point, that leads in a through line to where we are now. But I do remember when Trump was first elected, I was just like, Reagan to here. This is really just the fulfillment of the Reagan project, right?
Really, the fulfillment of
Is
it.
to get this sort of, from a Hollywood actor who had some real political experience to a reality show actor who has no political experience, right? It's just like, this was the groundwork for this. This is the fulfillment of this. This is the beginning of like, we'll just create a lot of smoke and mirrors and be the great communicator, right? To we're just going to go full throttle and we're going to take away your democracy.
Because it doesn't seem like he's got a lot of
And we're going to take away your,
governing ability.
Yeah, now we're in a situation where a bunch of people are in charge who are trying to sell off our country
And are probably.
and steal it, right? They're just stealing.
And
They're
probably are.
It's a cryptocracy, right? It's just,
Yeah. It is interesting, this using troops and stuff, federal troops in D.C. and
downright frightening.
calling them into California. From the reports I hear, they say that this is him wanting to get the American population comfortable or used to having military people on our streets.
Yeah, I
which
think
seems scary.
It is.
Why should we have military people on our streets?
Yeah.
Military is used for wars.
Yeah.
Why would they be around citizens?
And I think it's explicitly around a pretense that is not real, because he's getting us used to that, right? Because, what he has done is, he and his cadre has basically set a whole set of emergency powers, right? He's operating under all these emergency powers,
right,
which technically can be invoked as emergency powers when there's an emergency.
What was the emergency?
The emergency in DC. Oh, it's the crime is terrible.
Is that an emergency?
That's what he's saying, right? Is that crime is terrible and we need to get back our cities. Again, like so many other emergencies, he's saying something and there's no evidence for it. But our judicial system has basically been flooded with these Federalist Society types who believe in a unitary executive, who are like, oh, the only person who can decide what an emergency is the president because that's his power, instead of actually seeing the traditional role of the judiciary to be a check on that, right?
He gets to decide what's an emergency.
Yeah. And that's, and it is years of placing ideologies that are toxic to democracy into law schools, years of building think tanks, years of all of this that goes back to the 80s. And some of it is, if you look into it, explicit, like we need to do this to take over the democracy, to create the theocracy for God that needs to be here to be a Christian nation. I don't think that's driving everything, but that's part of what's in that framework. And some of the most vicious actors right now, they don't want a country of laws. They don't want a country that is driven by popular sovereignty. They want a church.
That's where I kind of step off of that train.
I stepped off of it a lot long before that. Yeah, and that never works out well.
It seems like one of our founding principles was a separation between church and state.
Well, and what's ironic is if you look at the development of the political apparatus that got people like Reagan into power and really drove the Republican Party, it happened really around a lot of the people who developed that political apparatus cut their teeth in the Southern Baptist Convention during the conservative takeover of the Southern Baptist Convention. So the Southern Baptist Convention, always one of the most conservative denominations, mainline denominations in the country.
Yeah.
But in the 70s and 80s, there's this real machination in which the hardcore conservatives, people don't realize, there was a period of time when you had women preachers in the Southern Baptist churches. That was done away with. You had a much more diverse set of theological and social understandings within the Southern Baptist Convention. That was done away with because a group of hardcore conservatives in the democratic process, the Southern Baptist Convention is a Congregationalist convention. So they have a whole used that democratic process to take over, but also cut their teeth on how to manipulate a democratic process to take over. Right. And yeah, that's not if your goal is to take over, whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, a socialist, a capitalist, or whatnot, if your goal is to take over,
instead
then
of
you
just
are
serve people,
you are
to
not
serve- yeah.
believing in democracy. Like, I don't want the progressives to take over. I want a strong progressive voice in the process by which we as a community make decisions for ourselves.
Well, it seems like we lost those voices at post-Reagan.
Yes. And part of why
Talks about the DNC
Right.
being formed and then being pretty much the moderates and the conservatives
Right.
of that Democratic
Right.
Party. And we almost like pruned.
my commitment politically to far more radically progressive agendas is much more about balancing out that loss than
which we needed.
a rejection of, say, free market economics. Because, for example, like I tend to lean towards good regulation, more socialist style distribution of wealth. That's as a corrective. I don't think markets are bad.
Yeah.
I think markets do good things in their context, right? And I do think we were on a good part of it was an imperialist project that has its own ramifications that we need to kind of sort through ethically.
Right.
But we were on a good trajectory coming out of the combination of the New Deal framework, which really built a true mixed economy across a federalist system.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people often talk about the New Deal as this sort of like big federal program that was taken. But it was really constructed to be a federalist program of cooperation between states and the federal government.
Yeah.
And we were doing that, right? We were building the premier public, not education system, research system in the world, right? Coming out of the 30s and the New Deal and into the 50s and 60s. That combined with a global ascendancy of the United States as a power.
After World War II.
No question that contributed to it as well. We tend to overemphasize that. What we tend to not realize is how much the economic success of the 1950s and 1960s, the global economic dominance of the United States until really the 90s, and now it's disintegrating. The fact is, it was fragile. I think Trump has done so much damage. We will never be the global economic power we were in our lifetimes.
Yeah, oh yeah.
The world economy is going to be driven by other countries' interests. China,
India, maybe
the European Union, maybe India. Like, there's a variety of places, and maybe that's a better system, but I don't know. There's enough of me that still has a little bit of real politic around international politics, that's like, I don't know that we're not going to have a system where one of those becomes the dominant force. And I hope it's a dominant force that's good.
Yeah.
And not, but it's going to we let go of that power, right? We just did that. We just did that in the last, the tariffs have destroyed our power. The dismantling of USAID has destroyed our power. All we have now to assert power in the world is our military.
We got to go one of those.
And that's scary.
Yeah.
Do we?
Well, it's funded.
We have a very large military.
But that's not a good way to influence people, is to be like, I got a big military. Right. I got a bunch of bombs.
We have a lot. We have a really well funded military. We have a lot of fancy equipment.
Right.
We have used it internationally. Has it really done what we need?
I don't know.
Right? Because what we look at right now is a history of especially post-Reagan, a lot of wars that never fulfilled their objectives.
That's right. In the Middle East and different places. Yeah.
I'm not to discredit the service of especially the rank and file soldiers, and Marines and whatnot on the ground, and the genuineness with what, and this is a lot of my opinion on this comes from talking to my vet students, right? Because when I talk to my vet students, if there's anyone cynical about the effectiveness of our military, it's the people who actually served.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're the ones who are like, I had no idea what we're doing. We're setting for nonsense objectives because of political reasons. I begin to believe that when we say we have the best military, it's just sunk cost fallacy. We've just invested so much blood and treasure and myth into our military that we're not brave enough to say, hey, this institution is not working for us in the way we've set it up.
We got some work to do as a people, as a country.
Yeah. And that's hard work because to really do work as a people, to really do work as a community means you have to resist that will to power. You have to resist that ability to say, I've got the solution. And if you're not on board with my solution, whether it's conservative or progressive or anything, that you're out. You're not part of the community. You don't get to have an opinion.
Right.
The only thing that will save us, I think, is learning how to talk to each other better.
Oh, yeah.
So
relating
and relating to people that we wouldn't normally relate to.
Right. Problem solving together.
Right. And refocusing on problems. It's like I feel about the Texas legislature. Like I work a lot in an industry where I work with a lot of the legislation that comes out around higher education. There is so much nonsense higher education legislation that came out of the Texas legislature.
Really? This year?
This year, the last legislature said it's all culture war nonsense that's really undermining the good work that is being supported by really well-crafted legislation that the same legislature put together, right? Like some of the legislation and framework we have in Texas around workforce development and higher education, really well-designed, bipartisan work, right?
Yeah.
We can work together to do good for our communities. No one votes on that. No one talks about that in the news. When was the last time, you heard major news conversations about HB8, which restructured our entire way we fund community colleges in the right direction? Came out of the same legislation that gave us SB 17, that anti-DEI nonsense, right?
Yeah.
With the same people working on it. Right? One is undermining education. One is really helping make it work better for people to make sure that like, hey, if you come to our colleges and you want to get somewhere, we're really oriented on getting you there in a good way. I mean, there's some problems with it, like it's performance funding, so it creates some of the vicious incentives, and it has. But the people who work in that, the people in the agencies, they understand that they're trying to make it work.
Yeah,
we can do things well in a system, right, of governance. If we stop saying the problem is the government,
right?
Like the problem with the rules is that there's rules, right? No, it's like, and that we don't recognize that the government is an extension of our political will, and we have a responsibility to make sure it does that.
Yes.
And two, that we need to be more focused on what are the real problems in front of us.
Yeah. I think we get confused because we get exhausted of problem.
Yeah.
And probably the wrong ones. Like, should people be allowed to be gay? Or should people, racism, all this other things. Those aren't really, there's struggles that are real and need to be addressed. But like, is the water drinkable? And are kids getting educated? A lot of that type of stuff.
Our systems working the way they should be to make us have a prosperous life together.
Yeah.
And, that doesn't neglect the reality of some of the things that get caught up in the culture war debates, right?
Right.
There's real problems to be solved there, but we're not, because it's been framed as a culture war, we're not actually focused on solving problems. We're focused on who's going to win. Are they
even problems?
And
this isn't even a problem because I don't acknowledge those people.
I don't think Reagan is responsible for it all.
You don't?
No. He is a kind of mythic embodiment, and he has a role to play of a deep change. I mean, come on, like part of the problem is that every year, even more so than the last year when we come to elections, the media treats it like it's a sports match.
Oh, yeah.
They're not talking about policies. They're not talking about what's going to happen that will make our life, better or worse. They're not doing anything except saying this team is winning, that team's not winning. Hey, the poll
they want it to be entertaining. Right. Yeah, they want it to be entertaining.
Like, who's going to win, right? And it's like, it's also just misguided. And partly it's just easy. Those are easy statistics to get. It's easy. It's lazy. Like I can go look at voter polls easily. It's the harder reporting is actually to get into the nuance and the analysis of the policy. The harder reporting is to look at, what's going on in the world. The easy reporting is on the numbers of who voted for who and who's ahead and what.
This person said somebody was fat.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's in some ways, if Reagan's responsible for that, he just helped create the context in which we could all be more lazy and said, it's okay, you can be lazy. We got this handled. We're taking down the big bad government. Just let us take care of it. We got you. We're going to take down the bad
We're gonna
guy.
take out we're gonna drain the swamp.
We're going to drain the swamp, right? Turns out the swamp was actually what pays your, like, you know, Medicare and makes sure that your water tap works.
Well, we'll see in the months and years to come the impact of the big beautiful bill. And
yeah, it's going to be interesting times. I mean, it's funny because when you look at the structure of that, it also looks like it's designed to like make the like a lot of things that it does, it delays until after the next election cycle. Like they know it's going to create problems.
So they're going to make sure that Republicans
that if someone else gets elected, it can be blamed on them, even though it comes. Yeah,
it's like a time bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh.